Knoxville. I'm Mayor Indya Kincannon, and this is Kicking It with Kincannon. Every month, we'll sit down with community leaders, city staff, and Knoxville neighbors to talk about what's happening in our city, the progress, the challenges, and the people who make it all work. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kicking It with Kincannon, the podcast where we talk about city issues, get to know some of our city leaders, and just have a little fun as well. So today I'm here with Kevin DuBose, our Director of Housing and Neighborhood Development. He has a 25-year more experience in this kind of work, both here with the city early in his career. And then you went down to Macon, Georgia. Yes. And then you came back, which we're so glad, and worked with Emerald Foundation for 10 or 15 years.
Yes.
And then we're so fortunate that we were able to hire you as our director. And it's great to have you here for many reasons, but having you here is so important because housing is really a huge need in our community in a way that is unprecedented in modern history for Knoxville. So we're glad to have you and look forward to our conversation today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really asked about all the time is what can we do to help people who are having a hard time either being first-time renters, or maybe their rent has gone up, or maybe they're finally ready to try to buy a house, but they're just not finding anything that fits within their budget. What are some of the things that we're doing to help those families?
Yeah, I get that question a lot too.
Yeah.
The city has done a tremendous job in a very difficult season in helping to jumpstart our local housing market. The situation is a national problem, where because of the economic crisis of 2008, there was more than a decade of underbuilding.
Right.
And then we had some population shifts, and you have a deficit of housing units, and that's what caused such an increase in prices, both rent and mortgages, in a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so undoing that was quite the task. And the city acted quickly, passed an affordable housing fund ordinance. Unprecedented, $50 million.
Local dollars.
Local dollars.
Yeah, that's a lot more than we get from the feds.
Yeah, a lot more. And not only that, Mayor, we have almost doubled the commitment, so that $5 million a year has looked more like $9 million a year that local government has, helped. And what we've done is turn that into real projects. Mm-hmm. And the real projects have looked like 23 housing developments, either on the ground, open, under construction, or improved.
Right.
We have some more that are going to come, to council very soon. Mm-hmm. It also looks like nearly 3,000 units.
Yeah,
that's
think
amazing.
About that, what's that number again?
Nearly 3,000 units since 2019. So I'm not sure there's another city that has our story in terms of just our response. And so we're doing everything. The best thing we can do is increase that inventory.
Yeah.
What we're fighting against is exclusivity.
Right.
And what I've been told by housing professionals is that if you don't jumpstart your market, your town becomes more and more exclusive.
Yeah. And we want our town to be a place where everybody can live and thrive.
And the opposite of exclusive is attainable.
Inclusive. And
attainable. Mm-hmm. And so we're really pushing hard for that goal of attainability.
One thing, I'm sure you encounter this all the time too, is people hear the term affordable housing.
Yeah.
Or think about, city supporting the construction of more housing. And there's some stigmas associated with that. They think it's all one kind of thing. But I think one thing that I'd love to hear you share is like all the different strategies. Like when we say $50 million towards more housing, it's not, it's a lot of variety. It's helping the homeless with immediate emergency shelter needs, but also helping maybe first-time home buyers through the Homemakers program. So talk us through that a little bit, because there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah. So, the best way to describe it is to look at an area,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an area median income, you know, and then there are different levels. So there are people in our town, families in our town that earn less than that area.
What is
average.
the area median?
Area average for a family of four is pretty high. It's almost six figures now.
Wow.
In
That
this
is higher than
region.
I think a lot of people realize.
Yes. And so the folks most at risk are those earning 30% of the area median income. And
Or less.
that community depends on, subsidized housing, having a voucher. And so affordable housing often, means a lot of different things. But for that group, what it means is I have a place to go that will accept my voucher. Okay. And so we had to jumpstart that market in order to provide more places because, as the inventory tightened, a lot of places flipped and they weren't affordable anymore. They became market rate.
And we in Tennessee do not have the legal authority to do rent control or anything like that. We have to operate on the supply side or carrots.
Right.
So one project that I remember celebrating recently, I was really proud of is a woman who owned her home over just off of Western Avenue there. A tree fell on her home.
Yeah.
And it ruined it. Luckily, no one was hurt, but she didn't have, her insurance didn't cover the replacement of that. But tell us a little bit about what the city and our partners did to restore her to her home.
Imagine having a home that you cannot occupy.
Yeah.
And she
or sell
or do anything. And she's a low income homeowner without insurance. The city has a long-standing housing rehabilitation program that is a full service, meaning we're going to bring that house all the way up to code. And in cases that where we can't bring it up to code, what we do is we build a new house in that place. And so in this case that you're talking about, we tore down that house, built her a brand new house in its place, and she only paid a portion that was affordable to her. So what that means is if you're earning less than 30% of the area median, you only have so much of your income that you can apply toward housing. And so whatever that amount is the amount you pay. And then the rest, is forgivable over time. And so she received some help from us. But the good story is that she returned to the place where she raised her kids, her husband who passed away.
And she got to pick out all the paint colors.
Yes.
I love that she picked like sort of this eggplant-purple.
It was
all
so
over.
her.
It was very much her taste, and I loved it too.
Yeah.
But you could tell it was not just a generic contractor's choice.
No.
And it was really, really nice to celebrate that. So that's one of my favorite recent projects, but there's so many others that are either in progress or have been, are complete or about to be complete. Yeah. Do you have a particular favorite that you want to share with our listeners?
I love all of them. I think, we run the gamut. We hadn't done a youth project ever. And so we're launching the first project of permanent supportive housing for youth aging out of foster care. That's going to get on the way.
A big need.
That's a favorite. You go the other end. We're opening lots of senior housing. We cut phase 3, cut the ribbon on phase 3 of
First Creek at
Austin, which is going to help seniors, permanent supportive housing for seniors. Then there's the Liberty Place where we had a role in working with Knox County and others that's going to provide more housing for veterans. So, it's hard to pick, among those 23 projects that, the city has launched here recently. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I think they are all special in a unique way.
Well, they're always the favorite of the residents who get to live there.
Good point.
That's very encouraging to see. But one thing I want to, highlight is as much as we've been able to partner with the private sector, for every dollar city taxpayers put in, we get a $15 investment from the private partners. But we always have more projects that are proposed to us than we're able to fund.
Yeah.
So, in a couple weeks, city voters are going to have the option to increase the sales tax by 0.5 cent, and a big portion of the proceeds of that would go towards affordable housing. How would that help our housing? How would that help Knoxville families with more attainable housing?
Well, that's going to provide a long-term sustainable source for, gap financing on housing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention that, this administration not only has made commitments already in advance of this, but we've also raised private dollars.
That's right.
And we've gone around and try to, develop as many partnerships as we can. So we're doing all we can.
Mm-hmm.
What that sales tax does is it puts it on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be able to fund another 1,000 units in a very short amount of time.
And to me, the fact that we would have more housing that's for working people of our community helps everybody at all income levels. Because guess what? When you're coming here as a tourist or visitor, or coming here to use our medical services or work here, like you need the police officers, firefighters, teachers, custodians, tradespeople. Yeah, we need them to be part of our community, to go to schools with our kids and be able to live here, not just work here. And that's what this is all about. That makes our city so much stronger. So I don't want to have to say no to projects anymore or say, wait till next year. If this 0.5 cent sales tax passes, it'll mostly be paid for by people who don't live in the city, but who shop here. But it's going to help people who do live here or want to live here, or maybe people who haven't even been born yet and don't know that they can't afford a house. But if we fix this now, it'll be much better for generations of future Knoxvillians.
Yes, it's a kitchen table topic for everyone. If you're not dealing with housing issues, somebody who is, and it's impacting, like you said, the younger generation, those who are in school now, who are wanting to become homeowners. The more we can do now is the more we're going to make our hometown more attainable for a lasting future.
And as someone who has 2 adult children living with us, sometimes we want our children to live near us, but not with us. But, they have to have an affordable place they can rent or, be first-time home buyers. So I know that's true for a lot of families, just getting that first start for younger folks. So, so I think that if this 0.5 cent passes, it could be the first step towards ending our housing crisis. Do you foresee in 10 years that maybe this housing crisis will subside? I
do. I really do. In fact, I think by 2029, which, is how we planned it in our Attainable, Resilient Knoxville plan, we're going to reverse a lot of the conditions that set this housing crisis in motion. I'm not sure it will be totally fixed by 2029, but what we said is if we can add 6,000 to 8,000 units by then, the factors that were causing, this rapid increase in prices, would subside, and we're on pace. We're already doing that.
So one thing that you're familiar with, particularly with the federal government stuff, but all of this housing stuff, there's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
I have a favorite acronym in the housing world, and it's NOAH.
Yeah.
Naturally Occurring Affordable Housing.
Yeah.
Do you have an acronym that makes you laugh or you think that always requires some explanation? Or I don't know, it's just lot of acronyms.
NOAH's one of them, and, our plan is Attainable, Resilient Knoxville, which acronym is ARC. So
I thought that was a good fit. Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm talking about NOAH and ARC in the same conversation. But naturally encouraging affordable housing is so important. And nationally is 70% of the affordable housing stock.
Right.
So, there are what it is older housing units where there's single family apartments that are not subsidized.
Right.
But because they're older, they don't have debt on them, that the property owner can charge less. And what happens in a tight market where there's no inventory, that naturally occurring affordable housing starts to charge the same as what a new development does.
Right. They're like putting a new microwave and double the rent.
And double the rent.
That's not a good feeling.
And so folks who've been paying a traditionally affordable rate, all of a sudden facing something that they can't handle. And so what we're doing to increase inventory also on the back end creates more naturally occurring affordable housing. It kind of breaks up that tightness in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know obviously we care so much about the people experiencing homelessness. As we increase the supply of more affordable housing, lack of affordable housing is the number one reason people end up with chronic homelessness. So I think this will all help on that very public-facing challenge as well. So
homelessness is a housing issue, and we very much believe that. And we believe that, regardless of what they're dealing with, they can deal with it better going to sleep at night in a housing unit.
Yeah. So you have a planning background, right? And you've been in this housing neighborhood development space for many years. If you could just design your dream community space, an ideal neighborhood, something where you would want to live and be with other neighbors, what would it look like? Do you have a real one in mind?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Well, in the South, we don't really think of density as attractive or high end. But I think about some of the places that I've been to, like in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, where you have these walkable, very dense communities where there is a sense of community, where there is a sense of safety. A lot of times having eyes on spaces, offers a sense of security and a sense of community.
Absolutely.
And I've just been fortunate to travel around the country and see some very nice high density neighborhoods or even medium density. Yeah. So I'm not afraid of that. And I think Knoxville has a very unique flavor.
Well, I think the younger generations are really eager to live in walkable communities. And they don't mean just walkable, just to walk around a place with only residences. They want a place to walk to grab a cup of coffee or have a drink with a friend, or have a corner store to get a few groceries or prescriptions or whatever. So I think there's a growing demand for that, and we've seen that in the demand for some of our traditional neighborhoods that have more proximity and walkability already built in, because they were built before people had cars.
Yes.
And so it's interesting. I know several people in the Gen Z generation who do not own cars.
Yes.
And it's really a foreign concept for Gen Xers, but they're giving it a go. And sometimes they bike or borrow a car. But it's nice that we should be able to serve all kinds of people, because at any given time, you might not be able to drive or afford a car because maybe it's an affordability issue, maybe it's a eyesight issue or mobility issue. So if we plan with all those stages in life and incomes and capacities in mind, it'll be better for everybody. I'm a big proponent of universal design.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, all work and no play makes Kevin a dull boy. So what do you do for fun? And, tell us a little bit about your family. And I know you and I share a practice that keeps me going a lot, and that's like weightlifting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your fitness regimen.
Sure. I'm married to a very awesome a lady named Cherise, who
how long have you been married?
We've been married 23 and a half years.
Wow, congratulations.
And we have 4 sons together.
Okay.
And I have 2 sons that don't live in Knoxville, one that lives in Kansas City, one lives in Atlanta, and I have 2 younger sons that live here. My 20-year-old is quite athletic, and he's the one who's helping me try to get back in shape.
Getting ripped.
And then my younger son, Jazz, he's a middle schooler at Carnes Elementary.
Okay. So what's your deadlift PR?
Well, hey, with these joints.
Or maybe you don't do the PR.
Yeah, with these joints at my age, I have to be very careful.
Yeah. I
I've
agree.
injured myself re-entering.
No injuries. Don't do that.
I went about 20 years, gap.
Taking a break.
Taking a break.
Pause.
And so I've injured myself, but I do more lighter weight training and a lot of tension things and some cardio, and that's been very helpful.
It's never too late to take care of ourselves, our health, and to do so with your son as a special gift as well. So, last couple questions. I have two more questions. If you could be mayor for a day, how would you spend that day?
Well, I mean, man, the mayor's job is so difficult. And, there is a project or a place that is very special to me. That's 901 College Street, where Knoxville College is. And
you're an alum.
I'm an alum. And my parents met there.
Oh, wow.
The bench where they had their first conversation is still there.
Wow.
And so, it's a special campus, and to see, some of the vacants and deterioration there. And I know it's hard because it's a private institution. So if I'm mayor for the day and I'm just ignoring the fact that it's a private institution, since we're making all of this, I just wave my magic,
bring it back,
and do some restoration there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sounds like an ambitious but worthwhile.
Yeah, it's not rooted in reality, but that's exactly where my mind went.
Yeah. Well, last question is: are you reading any good books or listening to some other podcasts that you can recommend for me and our listeners? Yeah.
Well, going through an old book with a book club most recently. So the last book that we read was Robert Booker's book, The Heat of a Red Summer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which really,
I've read that.
Articulates a moment in our time. Well, a couple of different moments, but it captures a story in 1919, which was an interesting time, but also the setting moves to the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement. And Bob just really captures both of those moments very well. Yeah,
that's a great one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on, being a part of our city leadership team, and for all the work you do in housing and neighborhood development. And thank you for being on the podcast, Kicking It with Kincannon.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
I have kicked it with Kincannon.
That's right. All right, enjoy. Thank you. Thanks for kicking it with me today. If you like this episode, share it with a friend, and make sure to follow Kicking It with Kincannon wherever you listen to podcasts. For more updates, visit knoxvilletn.gov or follow us on social. Until next time, take care, Knoxville.